The Black Cauldron, so it does exist.
The everlasting magical realm that Disney has created is timeless. We all know how Cinderella found her Prince Charming or how love conquers all in Beauty and the Beast. But there's one movie even the magical realm of Disney isn't too fond of, The Black Cauldron, a movie ahead of its time that's almost shattered the Disney magic. The Black Cauldron was released by Walt Disney Production in the year of 1985 and is known to be the most expensive animated film to ever exist. This animated dark fantasy features the venture of a dreaming warrior, Taran, and an evil emperor known as the Horned King. This is Disney's thrilling tale of sorcery, magic, and the battle between good and evil. The movie showcases an exciting search for an ancient black magic cauldron that holds the power to summon evil. The blood-curdling animation of the evil Horned King had everyone stunned back in the day. However, because of the dark and gloomy theme, Cauldron is the first Disney animation that got rated PG. Not only that, the production only had a gross of $21 million on a $40 million budget movie. Though some feel that the movie may have been ahead of its time, others believe it was filled with conflict and panic that did not set right among the moviegoers of 1985. As film enthusiasts, we believe Cauldron does have the potential to retrieve its reputation as times have changed and today's parents are more open towards clashed characters and dark fiction. After 25 years, let's explore the controversially magical tale of the Black Cauldron. Before we go into an explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Hidden by darkness, guarded by witches. The Black Cauldron, 1985. The Black Cauldron is slightly based on Lloyd Alexander's Three Chronicles. The series of chronicles, The Book of Three and The Black Cauldron, are two from which the inspiration for this movie has been taken. The movie starts with a young boy named Taran, living on a farm of Predane with Dalben and a pig named Hanwen. Dalben is an old master wizard who appointed Taran as a pig keeper to take care of his oracular pig. Taran dreams of being a warrior and fighter and is brave at heart. Unaware of Hanwen's powers, Taran spends time with him while pouring his heart out to her. Soon, Dalben introduces Taran to Hanwen's power and discloses that she is no ordinary pig. Hanwen can see and sense the presence of the evil Horned King in the water. It terrifies them as Hanwen's vision reveals that he is after a magical weapon known as the Black Cauldron. It holds the power to unleash evil strength that the Horned King wishes to use against the good. To achieve the force of the Black Cauldron, he is searching for Hanwen and her power. It is interesting that when Hanwen's power is used by Dalben, the vision that appears is actually a recycled work from 1940's Fantasia, which is a sequence of the night on Bald Mountain. Let's dwell back into the story. Dalben soon sends Taran away to hide and protect Hanwen from the dangerous Horned King. With the demonic and undead army of Cauldron-born troops, the Horned King's power just seems unstoppable. He releases his Gwenthanes to find Hanwen to abduct and use her powers to find the cauldron. These flying dragon-like monsters soon kidnap Hanwen and take her to Horned King's evil castle. Desperate Taran screams for help, but he isn't able to catch up to Hanwen in her cry for help. Did you know that Grant Bardsley, who plays the character of Taran, was only 14 at the time of recording? By the time the movie was released, he turned 19. This movie takes the viewers through several happy, tense, and even painful scenes, but surprisingly does not feature any songs neither in the background nor performed by any of the characters. It is the first ever Disney movie to be doing so. Just when Taran could not be any more hopeless, something from the bush shows up. This dog-like creature is hairy and adorable in appearance and is named Gurgi. However, Taran decides to leave him due to his cowardly and pestering nature. What does he do next, you ask? He sneaks into his castle and sees several barbaric troops of the Horned King celebrating the capture of Hanwen with meat and liquor. As the Horned King appears, Hanwen is brought out with chains and locks all around her tiny body. She refuses to show the location of the cauldron, and the Creeper threatens to hurt her. The character of the Creeper originally does not appear in the books and solely exists in the movie. The Creeper is a pesky goblin and the primary slave of the Horned King. He often gets blamed and belittled by his master for his peeving. Throughout the movie, we can see his fear and weakness. The Horned King is cruel and cold-hearted even to his own people. Michael Peraza, who is a former Disney animator, has given his insight into potential openings and character character traits that were conceptualized by several people. In a scene where he has worked with artist Vance Jerry and art director Don Griffith, Horned King's destruction was portrayed by burning down a village with the use of flames and fumes. The artists and Peraza wanted a balance in the movie that showcased both the peace and color of Taran's farm life and the soul-wrecking disruption of the evil king. With that fact in mind, let's hear the rest. Seeing Hen Wen in distress, Taran cannot help but intervene. Taran then helps Hen Wen to escape but gets thrown into the dungeon himself. Here, he meets a beautiful princess named Eilonwy, who is also being held captive by the Horned King. On a lighter note, in Mexico, the character name of Princess Eilonwy was renamed Elena. As they plan on escaping, they discover a secretive ancient chamber of the king. The cruel horned monster has likely taken over the palace from that king. From this burial chamber, Taran takes a royal-looking sword of the lost king and tries to escape. Taran's dream of being a warrior finally comes to life as he fights the creepers, troops, and the dog of the Horned King with a magical sword. In the meantime, they also help an imprisoned old Rhymemeister named Fleur de Flamme escape from the castle. The escaped news soon reaches the demonic king and he sends his Gleamthens to abduct them along with a pig. In the forest, they meet Gurgi, again who joins them in the venture. Gurgi's indecisiveness and cowardly behavior during the time of trouble is something that has been his character trait throughout the movie. Though he seeks friendship like any other, he faces constant trouble sticking around with his friends when he senses danger. As they move forward in search of Hen Wen, they stumble into a hidden kingdom of fairy folk who is tiny little magic fairies. Hen Wen came to theirs to seek a safe place under their protection. The king of the fairy folk is Adelig, who guides them to the Cauldron, and Tartan takes a vow to destroy it before the Horned King finds it. He also sends his wise ferryman Doli to help them reach the marshes of Morva. Meanwhile, King Adelig escorts Hen Wen back to his home and owner Herr Dalbin. Joe Hale has announced in 1983 that King Adelig's voice would be played by Jonathan Winters. However, for unknown reasons, Arthur Mallet voiced the character in the final cut of the film. A soft cameo of Tinkerbell was also present during the scenes of the Fairy Folk Kingdom. When they reach Morva, Taran gets the shock of terror. He discovers that the cauldron is guarded by three witches named Orgoch, Ordu, and Orwin. Though Orwin falls in love with Fufdur, Ordu does not go easy on the warrior team. She presents an offer to trade the cauldron for Taran's magic sword. Reluctant, Taran agrees and decides to sacrifice his ultimate dream of becoming a warrior. However, the shocking truth comes to light when they discover that the cauldron is indestructible. The only way to break the cauldron's evil power is to climb in it at their own will, which will result in killing them. The team goes through a tough time with hopelessness and sadness when they don't find any other way out of this chaotic distress. Doli abandons them in anger, and soon after they get abducted by the ruthless troops of the Horned King. However, Gurgi sneaks out and runs away, or the group of three is taken back to the castle. Once again, Gurgi's abandonment is seen during times of trouble. In the next scene, the Horned King uses the cauldron to awaken his cauldron-born army of the dead. When the Black Cauldron is activated by the Horned King, it makes a roaring noise. Do you know that this sound was of a space shuttle of NASA's rocket booster being fired? Taran, Fufdur, and the princess remain the witnesses of this disaster. In the meantime, Gurgi realizes that he has been a bad friend all this while, as he only abandoned Taran during this time of need. He decides to sneak in and rescue his friends. However, the effect of the cauldron starts to spread all over the kingdom, and Gurgi makes the ultimate sacrifice by jumping into it. The cauldron retracts all its power and effects back while also consuming the Horned King along with it. Then, the cauldron explodes in a fire, killing the evil king and breaking the palace of darkness and despair. The trio manages to escape the palace when the creeper was also seen, leaving happily on a Gwyntaint. The creeper's freedom was acknowledged as his suppression by the Horned King always seemed to have suffocated him. His joyous expressions indicated his relief after the departure of the sinful king. The animator and directors of the film focused very much on the proportions of certain objects. The shapes and sizes were maintained, keeping the contrast of movement balanced. It was all made to look effortless by programming. The CGI work was pretty ahead of its time, as the fairies' lights, river water, and bubbles had a realistic touch to them. The boat that Taran and his friends used while leaving the castle of the Horned King also had natural details and easy moves. In the end scene of the movie, Taran seemed to be experiencing pain. Despite the death of the Horned King, he suffers due to the loss of a dear friend, Gurgi. Then the three witches come around to take the Black Cauldron, but Fufdur challenges them to trade again. The witches present Taran's magic sword to him in return for the cauldron. Though Taran is determined to be a warrior, he is more dedicated to retrieving his lost friend. He demands Gurgi Gurgi back and the trade takes place. As Gurgi comes back to life, they reunite and cherish the bond of true friendship. Gurgi then initiates a kiss between Taran and Princess Eilonwy, and the story ends on a good note. On the other hand, Hen Wen's vision shows the journey of Taran to Dalben and Doli, who finally appreciates the courage and bravery of Taran. Let's dig into some interesting facts about this movie, shall we? The movie is the first movie to not have the end after the movie, but instead it went straight to credits. It is also the first movie to be featuring the logo of Disney, which is the White Castle on a blue background. What else, you ask? The Black Cauldron is the first animated film to be made that was in full screen format.
Power cannot die. Curse you!
The movie that nearly killed Disney animation. Have you ever wondered Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, an animated movie that was released in 1937 by Walt Disney Production, is still selling its merchandise to this day? Not just that, take any of the classics into account. Cinderella, The Jungle Book, or Sleeping Beauty. Walk into any related store right now and you will see toys and merchandise that are still popular to this day. That's the magic of Disney for you. But what about the Black Cauldron? You will have a hard time trying to find a copy of the film or anything related closely to the movie. The movie failed to imitate the matchless narration and the ever-mystical plot in which the book excelled because Disney was too preoccupied with trying to fit a series of books into a single movie. Disney acquired the rights to the movie in 1972, but it wasn't until 1980 that the production received a green flag. The magical essence of storytelling, which Disney is prominent for, is missing throughout the movie, and it's impossible to connect with the dull characters. The production began at a critical juncture for Disney animation. Ron Miller, who was Walt Disney's son-in-law, had just been replaced by Michael Eisner as the new CEO and Jeffrey Katzenberg as the acting chairman. The new regime was not particularly fond of how things worked before. Plus, there was a lot of tension between the animation teams working at Disney at that time, and few employees were even handed in their resignations because of the shakedown. This created havoc between the animation teams, and that's not all. The depictions of a few characters and scenes from the movie fabricated a controversy, particularly the character of the Horned King. The viewers were not at all ready for a movie like this at that time. The climatic scene of an army of the undead gradually emerging from the magic pot was too alarming for some of the viewers. With a lagged production and Katzenberg's decision to cut minutes long of footage from the movie, Black Cauldron was ultimately released in 1985. Many put negative reviews on the movie whether or not it would be appropriate for children. The attempt to reach the hearts of teen fans might have been a good idea, but it was unsuccessful back in the time. Despite trying their best, Walt Disney Productions faced negativity and bankruptcy due to box office failure. With an expensive production budget of $44 million, the film struggled to gross just $21 million. The movie fell flat after its release. Despite its failure in the United States, it gained massive popularity in Japan. Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Legend of Zelda, had added a lot of bits and segments that are based on the film. Black Cauldron, the movie, which was supposed to put Disney animation at the top for its advanced CGI production, is now notoriously known as the black sheep of Disney Animation Studios. Fortunately for Disney, that they rose through the challenging period and blossomed into what we know today as the Disney Renaissance. Differences between the film and the novels. We understand from a filmmaker's viewpoint, it's pretty much impossible to fit a series of novels into an hour-long movie. And even if you succeed, the end result is never quite the same. Disney's attempt to condense the entire plot of Lloyd Alexander's The Chronicles of Prydain proved quite controversial for the makers. The Black Cauldron is roughly based on the first two volumes of the series, following which the creators took the liberty to finish and release the movie. Several things went awry after the release. The characters seemed too dull, the storyline seemed too rushed, and it was difficult to empathize with any of the characters. The string that binds the whole movie together was overall missing. A wide range of the characters was excluded in the movie that provided further perspective in Alexander's version of the book, such as Cole, who was Dalben's assistant, or the demon lord Aron, who appeared as the Horned King's master in the novel. The movie portrayed the story of the Horned King's pursuit to find the hidden cauldron, but the novel tells a different tale otherwise. In the novel, the Horned King is shown serving his evil master Aron, and they already have the cauldron with them. The good folks of the story had a plan to steal the cauldron and stop Aron and the Horned King, but they later realized it got stolen earlier by the witches of Morva. This puts a whole new interpretation of how we see the movie. Not just that, there were slight inconsistencies while creating the characters as well. We get to see a bearded Dalben in the novel, an appearance that makes him resemble Gandalf from The Lord of the Rings. Princess Eilonwy is depicted with golden red hair, but in the movie we see her with blonde hair. The character of Creeper has been added only in the movie, but not in the books. Henwen, the beloved piglet, is described as a grown white sow in the books. Henwen is shown to display her prophetic abilities by gazing into the water, but we find her pointing towards symbols with her snout to exhibit her prophecies. There's an imposing difference during the climax that sets the movie apart from the books. In the movie, Gurgi puts his body inside the cauldron to destroy it once and for all. In the book, however, a character who was named Elidir jumps into the cauldron to destroy its magical powers, but he's not restored to life unlike in the movie. Though the cauldron gets destroyed at the end of the book, the Cauldron-born army were still serving Auron. Lloyd Alexander himself has acknowledged watching the movie and even liking it. However, he claimed that it had nothing to do with his original work. It seemed like an alteration heading in a different direction. These little inconsistencies, engulfed with poor storytelling and underdeveloped characters, proved fatal from the movie. Animation and development of the Black Cauldron movie. It's quite unbelievable how the Black Cauldron was the first Disney film that featured CGI. Directed by Richard Rich and Ted Berman, it is the first animated movie to be presented in Dolby stereo sound of 70mm 6-track. MPAA has given it a PG rating, making it the first animated film to receive the same. The graphics of the movie are extremely well put and detailed. Despite being one of the most expensive animated movies, it ended up being a box office failure. The dimensions of several objects and scenarios are shaped realistically. Movements of the characters throughout the film were also something that was ahead of its time. Animator Don Paul's ideas and work can be seen to be implemented in the fumes and smoke that come out of the cauldron. The live-action shots of dry ice smoke have been used to create that. This movie was shot using Super Technirama with a 70mm film process and 70 widescreen, and exclusively newly made sound effects have been used. After this film, the old sound recordings were no longer being used in Disney feature films. The graphic and gloomy theme of the Black Cauldron has eliminated a massive amount of children's audience. Disney studio Jeffrey Katzenberg had some scenes cut and removed from the movie, as it has been getting a response of being too terrifying among them. Due to the final cuts from the movie, the duration has also been reduced. Despite the objection of producer Joe Hale on the matter, Jeffrey edited and cut some parts out himself. The app process that was invented by David W. Spencer was used for the first time in The Black Cauldron. The use of the zero-graphic process that was being used in the 1950s has reduced. In the movie, the apt transfer technology was used that would give the result in high-contrast pictures. Marvelous verdict. The Black Cauldron is a movie that Disney does not talk about. The movie presents brilliant work of CGI, animation, and visuals. Regardless of technological achievements, it lacks the captivating charm of characters. Today's parents might be open to their children watching this, but back in the day, children were seen to be fleeing from the theaters. If you're fond of dark fantasy and want to experience some thrilling quests, then we sure do recommend some good old Disney adventure with The Black Cauldron. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.